So something that's been pretty well established by now is that Classic Sonic as a character is here to stay. Ever since his re-debut in Sonic Generations, Classic Sonic has been popping up every so often for the past decade in a bit of Sonic games, whether that be alongside modern Sonic or in his own standalone games. Since Classic Sonic is pretty much here to stay now, some have wondered, is Classic Sonic only used for nostalgia? And I can see where those people might be coming from.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Sonic Generations was the game that released for Sonic's 20th anniversary, and the inclusion of Classic Sonic in that game was meant to be a celebration of that 20th anniversary, so his return was welcome for Generations. Then during the Sonic 25th anniversary party, two new games were revealed that both featured Classic Sonic, Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. Now one of these games would turn out to be great, and the other, not so much. Mania was a return to form for Classic Sonic, with a 2D 16-bit art style, and is still heavily praised for being a great game to this day. Classic Sonic's inclusion in Sonic Mania was not questioned very much, because in that game he was by himself, no modern Sonic to be found, and it was also something that the fans had been wanting for a long time. Now Forces on the other hand is where some people started to ask the question, why is Classic Sonic in this game? It made sense for his inclusion in Sonic Generations, as it was a celebration of Sonic's 20th anniversary, and also the first time that he had been seen in modern 3D. But doing it twice in a row seemed odd to some. Some figured that Sonic Forces was a sequel to Sonic Generations, but it wasn't, which made Classic Sonic's return even more questionable. Why was Classic Sonic back, if for no other reason than to capitalize on the nostalgia fans had for him? Now if the story had ended there, I think there would be a very obvious answer to our question. I mean, Classic Sonic added nothing to Forces that wasn't already in Generations, and his impact on the story was barely felt. He truly was only in Sonic Forces because Sonic Team thought that people would get excited by their nostalgia for Classic Sonic. And for some, they were right.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Once Forces released and turned out the way it did, the question of future Classic Sonic projects was put into question. If Classic Sonic was only going to be included in future modern Sonic games as nostalgia bait, then was there really any reason to get excited for them at all? The way Classic Sonic handled and controlled in Forces was noticeably worse than in Sonic Generations, and even in that game they weren't 100% perfect. Luckily, Classic and modern Sonic fans alike wouldn't have to wait very long for their answer. Sonic Mania Plus was announced in March of 2018, which included 2 new characters, a new story mode, and remixed level theming. Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces released around the same time in 2017, so Sega had no real way of knowing which would be more well received, but in the end, it was Mania by a landslide. With the release of Sonic Mania Plus, Classic Sonic had been cemented as his own character and his own classic universe away from modern Sonic. The most recent game to release, Sonic Frontiers, has no mention of him as a separate character at all. He only shows up as a sprite during a flashback in a cutscene. So was that it? Classic Sonic was meant to stay in his pixelated form while modern Sonic ran the show for a while. Well, just recently things changed, and absolutely for the better of both classic and modern Sonic fans alike.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Sonic Superstars was announced this year at Summer Games Fest, and I think this is the game that will provide the answer to the question in the title of this video. Sonic Superstars features a 3D classic Sonic as opposed to the sprite that was usually used in his standalone games, but the game itself is still a 2D platformer set in the classic universe, which means there's no modern Sonic to be found. Sonic Superstars is a multiplayer 2.5D style platformer, and I think that with the announcement of this game, Sega and Sonic Team have truly found a place for classic Sonic to exist on his own. Sonic Superstars features 4 playable characters, those being Sonic of course, Tails, Knuckles, and surprisingly, Amy Rose. This will be the second time recently in a long time that Amy is an actual playable character, the first being Sonic Origins Plus. The best part about these characters being included in this 2.5D classic Sonic game is that they all use their classic designs. This game is firmly in the classic Sonic timeline of things. No longer are classic and modern Sonic mixed into a single game to be seen together. Now let's get into why I think this game in particular answers the question, is classic Sonic only used for nostalgia? Sonic Superstars takes the 3D models that were previously seen in other modern Sonic games where classic Sonic was present, and reuses them for this classic Sonic specific game. If Sonic Superstars is a success, and if you've been keeping up with the game so far, it seems like it will be, but I am prepared for that statement to inevitably age poorly. Then I think that this style of game, with multiple playable characters as a 2D platformer, could genuinely be something that modern Sonic doesn't do, and it gives a reason for classic Sonic to exist as a character outside of the nostalgia. So yeah, if you had asked me a few months ago, I would have said that yes, Classic Sonic was primarily used for his nostalgia factor, especially in the games where he's featured alongside modern Sonic. But with Sonic Superstars, my opinion has shifted. No longer do I think Classic Sonic is only used for nostalgia purposes. I do actually think that he can have a unique gameplay style and game design that modern Sonic doesn't, which sets apart their characters and allows for both to exist without questioning why it wasn't just modern Sonic only. I do also think that games like Sonic Mania could be made with classic Sonic characters, and I think right before Sonic Forces, my opinion was about the same as it is now, but Forces really screwed up how people saw classic Sonic's inclusion in any Sonic game. So as long as Sonic Team doesn't put classic Sonic in Frontiers 2 or whatever they're cooking up next for modern Sonic, then I don't think that classic Sonic is only used for nostalgia. They've proven twice now, with Sonic Mania and Sonic Superstars, that classic Sonic does have a unique place in the Sonic franchise that clearly separates him from modern Sonic. And I'm not just talking about how he plays in 2D. I mean fundamentally, his existence as a character. Could Sonic Superstars have been made with modern Sonic? I mean, I guess, yeah, technically. But modern Sonic's gameplay has evolved so far from the style that Superstars is going for that I think classic Sonic is a way better fit. Which is exactly the point that I've been trying to get across this entire video. Include classic Sonic where it seems necessary, and keep him out of games that he doesn't need to be in. I enjoy both classic and modern Sonic games. My two favorite games tied with each other are probably Sonic Unleashed and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So that should be enough to say that I genuinely enjoy and care about both gameplay styles, and I don't want classic Sonic to be left behind, nor do I want him to invade modern Sonic's games either. So I hope this kind of unnecessary video helped to convey how I feel about classic Sonic, and that I don't think he's only used for nostalgia purposes. In the past, I would have said, yeah, for sure he is, but I'm glad that Sonic Team has now found a purpose for classic Sonic, and that it seems to be doing well so far. Anyways, thanks for listening to my rant about classic Sonic, and specifically what I'm thinking about Sonic Superstars. I will admit, Superstars definitely did influence my decision to make a video like this, but I think it's well deserved because I'm very excited to see what the game will be like, and if it suits classic Sonic as a gameplay style that they could build off of in the future. If you've watched this far, feel free to drop a like if you enjoyed this style of video, and leave a comment if you have any additional thoughts or just want to flat out say I'm wrong. Trust me, I would genuinely like to see a bunch of different opinions if those are out there. Once again, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time.